Again today, the Gemara on Daf Tzadik Ches Amud Beis, 2 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. So this Gemara is discussing the time period when Mashiach comes, before Mashiach comes. Here we'll see the Gemara is going to discuss the time period after Mashiach comes. So the Gemara Darash Rab Simloi. Rab Simloi Darshant Mai Dechsiv. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Hoya Mesavim Esyayim Hashem. Woe to those that are desiring and are waiting for the day of Hashem, which means the day when Mashiach comes. Lama Zelachem Yayim Hashem. Why are you waiting for this day? It's darkness, and it's not light. That's a pasuk that it says in Amos. So what does this mean? That the day when Mashiach comes is darkness. Mashal tarnagal vatalif. So the mashal here is of a rooster and a bat. Shoyim mitzapen. It's the night, and they're both waiting for the light of day. Amalei tarnagal atalif. So the rooster says to the bat, Ani mitzapen lo'ira shoyra shalihi. I'm waiting for light because light is beneficial for me. The rooster actually senses light more than other creatures. That's the one that in the morning it senses the light the first. Va'ata, but you, the bat, which is blind, lama l'cha'ira. What do you need the light of morning for? And that doesn't make any difference to you. You're just living in darkness. So the mashal, the Gemara is saying here is...
escape back.
Right, exactly. Adarabbi, he doesn't want the light in the morning. So the same thing is being said over here, that the Goyim are waiting for the coming of Mashiach. So the pasuk is saying, what are you going to gain by the coming of Mashiach? For the Yidden, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be light. But for the Goyim, Adarabba, for them it's going to be darkness. They're going, as Gemara here is going to explain of what it says in the Nevuah regarding when Mashiach comes. This explains also the conversation that Rabavo had with a heretic, which was a guy. He asked Rabavo, so when's Mashiach coming already? So Rabavo tells him, when darkness will cover those people. He's referring to this guy himself, but he didn't want to say to him directly, so he says those are the people. Amalei, so this heretic says to Rabavo, Melet kalaitasli, so you're cursing me that there'll be darkness. Amalei, so Rabavo tells him, Kroksiv. It's a pasuk. The pasuk says, that darkness will cover the land, va'rafel, and a thick darkness la'umim for all the nations, and then va'alayich yizrach Hashem, on you, on the Yidden, the Eibishter will shine, and the Eibishter's covet will be upon Yidden. So that's what it says. Mashiach comes for the Goyim, it'll be darkness, and for the Yidden, it'll be light, and the honor of Hashem will be upon Yidden. That's what it means over here also before the pasuk, that the Goyim wait for Mashiach, but for them it's going to be a time of darkness. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer said, Yemaisa Mashiach, the period of Yemaisa Mashiach. So here what the Gemara is going to be discussing, and there's a few different opinions about this. When Mashiach comes, first there's going to be a period, as the Gemara calls it here, Yemaisa Mashiach. The days of Mashiach, which will be the time period when the Beis HaMikdash will be built, and we'll be doing all the mitzvahs again. After that time period will be the period of Olam Haba, which will be the time period of Tchiyas HaMeisim, and then will be Olam Haba. So this time period in the beginning, when Mashiach comes, how long will this time period be? So Rabbi Eliezer says, Arbaim Shana, this is 40 years. Shanamar, because the pasuk says, Arbaim Shana Okut B'doir, that for 40 years, Okut B'doir. So now, as Rashi brings, the simple pshat of this pasuk is, it's speaking about the 40 years that the Yidden were in the Midbar. But because the pasuk talks about this, and it says, Loshen Osid, Okut, it doesn't say a Loshen Ovar, it says a future tense. Okut, Rashi says, the Gemara here is darshaning like the Aramaic word of nokat, when you grab onto something. And what the pasuk here is saying is that for 40 years, then the Eibishter will take Yidden to be with him for the first 40 years of Yemaisa Mashiach. And after that will be Tchiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Shivim Shana. The period of Yemaisa Mashiach will be 70 years. Shanam, the pasuk says, V'hoya b'yomahu. Then in that time it'll be V'nishkachas Tzair, and Tzair, which is the king of Tzair, the place of Tzair will be forgotten, and this will be Shivim Shana, a period of 70 years, Kimei Melech Echad, like the time of that unique king. Who Ezeu Melech Miyuchad? Who's the king we're talking about over here? Avayim Ezeh Mashiach. It refers to the time of Mashiach. That this will be for a period of 70 years. Rabbi says Shloisha Dairis.
Before everybody gets up?
Yes. That's what it says here in the Gemara. The time period of Yemaisa Mashiach, this is before Tchiyas HaMeisim. Rabbi says Shloisha Dairis, the time period of Yemaisa Mashiach will be for 3 generations. Shanema, the pasuk says, Yiraucha, he will be seen with you, Im Shamesh, with the sun that rises, Ulefnei Erech, and before the moon. The Gemara before brought that one of the names of Mashiach is Yinaim. that it says Lifnei Shemesh Yinoin Shemai. So over here as well, when it says Lifnei Im Shemesh Lifnei Yarech, it refers to Mashiach. And how long will Mashiach be seen? Dair Dairim, 1 generation, and then Dairim Lashon Rabim, another 2 generations. 3 generations, Yemaisa Mashiach, and then Olam Haba.
And how long is the generation?
How long is the generation? Yeah, whatever, about 10 years, okay.
10 years?
Whatever it is, I'm not sure. It says 3 generations.
No, because this is 40 years, 70
Yeah,
years.
I understand.
We don't know how
It
long
doesn't
it
say.
is.
Yeah, it doesn't say specifically. I heard that Gemara interjects something that was already mentioned before. Bekitzer, the Gemara brings again. Rab Hillel Loimer. Rab Hillel said, "Ein lahem Mashiach li Yisrael." There's no Mashiach for Yidden. Now, so there's different shatim in this. Rashi teaches that when Hillel said there's no Mashiach for Yidden, he didn't mean kipshute that the Mashiach won't come. Rashi says the Eibishter himself will rule over the Yidden and redeem them. It won't be through a boss of Adam, Melech HaMashiach. It won't be a king, Melech HaMashiach. That's what Rashi's pshat in the Gemara is. And the Gemara goes on to say, why? Shekvar achlu b'mei Chizkiah. Whatever was promised that will be coming through a Melech, Melech HaMashiach, that already was fulfilled in the times of Chizkiah. And all the descriptions that it says then, by the downfall of Sanhedrin that we learned before in the Gemara, and all the things that Yidden had then, that promise was fulfilled then. So therefore Mashiach comes, it's not going to be through Mashiach actually, it's going to be through the Eibishter himself. The simple pshat in the Gemara, though, other Rishonim learn the pshat in the Gemara literally. That Reb Hillel said, "Ein la Mashiach li Yisrael." He meant kipshutai that Yidden will not be redeemed because all the things that it promises about Geula already happened in the time of Chizkiah, and Yidden used it up already then, and therefore in the future Mashiach is not going to come. That's the simple taich of the Gemara.
Is it Hillel HaZaken?
No, this is not Hillel HaZaken. Reb Hillel is, I think he was a great grandson from Hillel. He comes from, I think he was a grandson, or maybe a great-grandson from Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which also comes from Hillel HaZaken. That's who this Reb Hillel is. He's an Amayra. Yeah, so, but as you see, Rashi doesn't teach us kipshutai. We don't paskin like Reb Hillel, obviously. We paskin that there will be Mashiach, not only a Geula, but Mashiach as well. The Rambam says in Hilchas Melachim that Kol mi she'eina maimim boy ve'eina mechaka libiyasei. Not only one that doesn't believe in Geula, but one that doesn't believe even in Mashiach. The Rambam goes on to say, "It's kaifa b'teirav of Moshe Rabbeinu." So we don't paskin like Reb Hillel. When he said this, so he said it before he said what he understood from the psukim before there was a psakdin. But we don't paskin like Reb Hillel. So one that says like him today is "Areza kaifa b'teirav of Moshe Rabbeinu." That's what the Rambam writes. There's a truth from the Chassam Sofer about this. That's the point that he says. Okay, now the Gemara says on this that Reb Hillel said. Rav Yosef said, "Shadalei Mari Rav Hillel." The Eibusha should forgive him for saying such a thing, because he made a mistake. He said it based on the way he understood the psukim. But if you look at what it says, Chizkiah Amos Have, when did Chizkiah live? And there, the pasuk promises things that relate to all the good that Eibusha gives to Yidden. But when did he live? By Yisrisha, in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash. V'ilu Zachariah kamis nava b'bayis sheni. Zachariah, which was a later Navi, is prophesizing about the time of Mashiach later, in the time of the Bayis Sheni. V'omer, and he says that Gili ma'oid bas Tzion, be very excited bas Tzion, referring to Yidden. Hari bas Yerushalayim, you should sing the ones that come from Yerushalayim. Hine malkech yovelach tzadik v'noisha, and you'll be saved. Who is this? Ani v'reichav al chamor. This is the pasuk where it speaks about Mashiach as an ani reichav al chamor, and v'al ayer, that is ben asainis, and an ayer ben asainis, also a donkey basically. So here in the pasuk it says clearly after the time period of Chizkiah that Zechariah is prophesying about Mashiach in the future. So Akad Reb Hillel say that Ein la Mashiach li Yisrael. So in the Pashto Pshat of the Gemara, it seems like the Pshat, not like Rashi's taking the Gemara out of the Pashto Pshat. The other Rishonim say that the simple Pshat of the Gemara is like you see in the Hamshach that Reb Hillel was saying, Ein la Mashiach li Yisrael. Okay, but Rashi says it means only that the Eibishter will come redeem Yidden. Tanya Doch, we learned in Abraise, Rabbi Eliezer says, Yemaisa Mashiach Arboim Shana. The time of the period of Mashiach is like the first opinion that was brought before, also Rabbi Eliezer. But here the Gemara brings another source, 40 years. Why? Because Ksiv Hacha, the pasuk says in the time when the Yidden had the man, Vayancha, Vayarivecha, Vayachilcha, that the Yidden were in the midbar for 40 years, and there it uses the expression of Vayancha, that the Yidden that they had suffering and they were hungry and they ate from the man. Ksiv Hasam, and the pasuk says, Samcheinu Kimaisin Isanu, that the Eibusha will bring us joy like the days of Inisanu, like the days that Vayancha. So the Inisana goes back to this same time period of Vayancha that will be the same long, 40 years. Abdeisa says, Dalad Meishana. The time period of Yemais HaMashiach will be 400 years. Ksiv Hacha, it says, Vavadim, V'yinu Vaisam Arbe Meishana. The Yidden were suffered for 400 years. That's the time period of the Gzeira, of Mitzrayim, or Ksiv Hasam, and the Pasuk says, Samchenik HaMais Inisanu. So according to this pshat, Inisanu means like the time period of 400 years. The Yidden were Mitzrayim. Rabbi says, Gimel Meyais V'shishim V'chomishana. 365 years, which corresponds to the days of the year, 365 days in the cycle of the sun, the year of the sun. Kimini Maisachama. Shanem, as the pasuk says, Kiyoim Nokom, the day Bishop takes revenge, Bilibi, it's in my heart, Shnas Gulei Ba, and the year of Geula will come. So what it's saying over here is just like when the Eibishter takes revenge, and what is this referring to? When the Eibishter punished the Yidden that were in the Midbar after the story of the Meraglim, so because they went in the Eretz Yisrael for 40 days, and then they came back, so they were punished for the 40 days to be in the Midbar for 40 years. So similar here when it says the Eibishter takes revenge of the Goyim, the Eibishter will bring Mashiach, Shnas Gulei Ba, so it'll be a year for each day of the days of the year, which is 365 days of the year. So it'll be 365 years will be the time of Yemais HaMashiach. Now, my Yom Nokom Belibi. It says here that day of Nokom, of the revenge of the Eibishter, is in my heart. Rabbi Yechanan says, Libi Galisi. In my heart it's revealed. Le'evare le Galisi. But to any of my limbs, meaning in my mouth, it wasn't expressed. The time of when Mashiach comes is something which is hidden, it's not expressed at all. Rab Shimon ben Lakish says, Libi Galisi. For my heart it's revealed, but l'malachai ashadis like Galisi. Even for the malachim, it's not revealed either. Another opinion, Tani Avimi B'rei Rabavo, Yemais HaMashiach Yisrael, Shiva Salafim Shana. The Yemais HaMashiach time period of Yemais HaMashiach for Yidden is 7,000 years. Shenema, because the pasuk says, the Messiah is Chasen al Kala, that the Chasen joy is the joy of the Chasen with the Kala. Yasas Alayach Alakayach, and so to Hashem will be in the time period of the Simcha with Yidden in the time of Mashiach. And how long is the day of the Eibishter? A day of the Eibishter is 1,000 years. So by the Eibishter it's 1,000 years. So the Sheva Brachas for Chasen Kala is 7 days. The Sheva Brachas of the Eibishter with Yidden is 7,000 years. Yeah, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, another opinion. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel Yemais HaMashiach. The time period of Yemais HaMashiach is Kimiyem Shenivra Olam V'Adachshav. Will be as long as from the beginning of creation until now. Whenever Mashiach comes, that's how long the time period of Yemais HaMashiach as well will be. Shenem, as the pasuk says, Kimei Hashemayim Alaretz. As long as it is the days of the existence of Shemayim Alaretz until Mashiach comes, that's how long Yemais HaMashiach will be. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak Amar, Kimei Noyach. Adachshav, from like as long as it is from the time of the Mabul until now. Shenema, the pasuk says, Ki mei noyach zoisli ashenish bati. So the Gemara is darshaning that you don't read it Ki mei noyach, but Ki mei noyach. Like from the days of Noyach until now, that's what the Eibishter swears that it'll be the time period of Mashiach. So according to some of the opinions, the Gemara says here, it argues with the point that was brought before that the world exists for 6,000 years, and then the 7th millennium will be Chat Charuv. And then the 8th millennium, then the Eibishter will renew the entire world. Over here we had an opinion that says that the time period of Mashiach itself will be 7,000 years. Or many thousand, even other opinions, thousands of years, like from the time of creation until when Mashiach comes. So you see here various different opinions about this. All of the prophecies that it says by the Nevi'im, they're talking about the great goodness that there will be, including many miracles that will happen in this first time period of Yemais HaMashiach. However long it will be, according to the opinions here. But then, when it will be the time of Olam Haba, which will be Tchias HaMeisim, Ayin Leirasa Alakim Zulasecha, that only the Eibishter sees and knows this. Yaseh Lamachak Eloi. The Eibishter does this for those that await for this, and that's a time period that the Psukim, the Nevuah, does not speak about because there's no way to describe this. It's beyond any description. This is something which is discussed in Chassidus, Barichis, this concept of Yaseh Lamachak Eloi. This is a time period that's beyond any kind of description that we could imagine of even talking about the levels of a lakus, godly revelation. That then will be Yaseh Lamachak Eloi, a completely different level. But the Gemara says, and this is a plea of the Shmuel. This that's said here in the name of Rabbi Yechanan is argues on what Shmuel said. Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel says, Ein ben olam mazil le'moisam Mashiach el'shibud malchi is bulvad. That between the time today in Golus and when Mashiach comes, there'll be no miracles. There'll be all those nevuas that speak about all these miracles cannot be referring to Yemais HaMashiach, because the only difference will be the Shibud Malchias, that the subjugation to the governments of the world, that will change. But otherwise, everything will be in nature. So therefore, it must be that all those nevuas are going on the time period of Olam Haba, not the first time period. Yeah, I mean the Rambam paskins like this opinion of Shmuel. That's what the Rambam says. Al Yala Al Alev, that when Mashiach comes, there'll be all these kinds of miracles. No Elam Kimin Hagin Noyeg, famous Rambam, right? So the Rambam paskins like Shmuel. But even if we paskin like Shmuel, there's the famous svart that the Rebbe said many, many times, that in the Tkufa of Yemais HaMashiach Gufa, even before you come to the second time period of Olam Haba, Tchias HaMeisim, which the Gemara is discussing here, in the first Tkufa of Yemais HaMashiach itself, there'll be different time periods. It'll be divided. It'll be the beginning, where it'll be like Shmuel says, no shinui in the world. But then there'll be a later Tkufa in Yemais HaMashiach Gufa where there will be miracles. And there's many rayas from Sukkim and Medrashim and Chazal that even according to Shmuel, even according to the way the Rambam paskins, there'll be Nisim as well.
So all this what you're talking about right now is after the Beis HaMikdash is built.
Yes.
So what is timeline called?
Yemais HaMashiach. This is
after when Big Mashiach, Beis HaMikdash is built. Beis HaMikdash is not built yet.
Not built. Well, with the time that we're living now in,
yeah,
we're holding by the Ot time, by the just about.
The Rebbe says now is Yemais HaMashiach.
No, okay. Depends how you describe what Yemais HaMashiach means. The Gemara already before said Shnei Alof Yemais HaMashiach. So that already began from after the Churban of Bayis Sheni. But it depends how you want to describe Yemais HaMashiach. But we're Ot.
They become them already.
Yeah. V'Amar Rab Chiya bar Abba Amar Rab Yechanan. Kol HaNeviim lo nisnabu ela lebali tshuva. The nevuos of the Neviim regarding what there will be lost at Lavai is going to be for the Bali Tshuva. About tzaddikim gemurim, but what the tzaddikim gemurim will be zeicha too, that's on a higher level than the Bali Tshuva. Ayin le'rasa lekim zu lesecha. No ayin sees this and can describe this, only the Eibishter alone. Because the tzaddikim gemurim are on a higher level than the Bali Tshuva. Says the Gemara about a pliga de Rabavo. What Rabbi Yechanan says argues on what Rabavo said. Damar Rabavo makim shebali Tshuva aimdim. In the place where the Bali Tshuva stand, tzaddikim einam aimdim sham. The tzaddikim do not stand there. Or even tzaddikim gemurim, some out here in the gear said, do not stand there. Shanema, because the pasuk says shalom, shalom. It says twice the union of shalom, and then it says, for whom is there the peace? L'rochaik v'lakarev. For those that are far from the Eibishter and those that are close. So what does it mean? It can't, when it says rochaik, it can't mean literally for people that do Avedis and are far. There's no shalom for them. So when it says first rochaik, it means bereisha rochaik v'hadekarev. It's referring to the Baal Tshuva that was first distant and now is near. So that's the. So for a second, sorry. No, first the Gemara is medayik, the lashon of the pasuk. Bereisha rochaik. First, it's saying that the Eibishter has his peace is for the one that's rachaik and v'hadar karev, and only afterwards it says for the ones that are karev. Now, my rachaik, what does it mean when it says rachaik? Rachaik d'mei karev. One that was rachaik first, he was distant, and he's about tshuva, now he's near. Well, my karev d'mei karev. Karev means one that was karev first, which means he was always karev. He's a tzaddik gomer. So what do you see here in the pasuk? So again, my karev de me kare udahashta. Someone that was always close before and now. So you see that the one that was rachaik and became close, the Baal Tshuva, the pasuk says the shalom for him first. So that's the source of Rabavo, that the Baal Tshuva are on a higher level than the tzaddikim gemurim. Now, Rabbi Yechanan interprets this pasuk differently. He says that the tzaddikim gemurim are on a higher level than the Baal Tshuva, because he teaches l'rachaik, when it first mentions the rachaik, that actually refers to the tzaddik, because shu rachaik ma'aveda. It means the one that's always far from an aveda. And karev means shu karev ma'aveda v'nisrachik mimena. It refers to someone that was close to an aveda and he distanced himself from an aveda. So this is the famous machlokes here in the Gemara. So here's the big pella that the Rambam paskins like Rabavo, that the Bali Tshuva are on a higher level than tzaddikim gemurim and hilchos tshuva. That's how the Rambam paskins. The chiddush is that the halach is always like Rabbi Yechanan, especially the machlokes ben Rabbi Yechanan Rabavo. The halach is always like Rabbi Yechanan, but here the Rambam paskins like Rabavo that says that the Bali Tshuva on a higher level. And not only that, the Rambam adds more even than what it says in the lashon of the Gemara, because in the Gemara it says the place where the Bali Tshuva are. So tzaddikim gemurim are not oimdim sham. The Rambam says tzaddikim gemurim en yachaylim lamed sham. The Rebbe is always medayik this. They don't even have a yachaylis, not even any. They don't come close b'chlal in any way to the level of the Bali Tshuva. It's even more. Right, so the mile of the Bali Tshuva, the Rambam actually says, because the Bali Tshuva are kaivshim es yitzram, because they did Avedas, and therefore now they have to be kaivish their yitzah to stay away from an Aveda, so their Aveda is much more powerful. There's many, many different explanations for why this is, that Bali Tshuva is on a higher level, but that's the hezbollah that the Rambam says. But on the other hand, though, Rabbi Yochanan says that the tzaddikim gemurim are on a higher level, and simply the pshat for this is because that's the chatchila, the kavana sabriya, that a person should go be adam yashar. It says b'min nimlach b'nishmasayim shel tzaddikim. There's a mile in the avodah of tzaddikim that are doing their avodah and making a dir b'tachtainim and doing Torah mitzvahs. The Baal Tshuva is one that he runs away from the world. He's running away from avodah. He's going up. He's going out. There's a mile to a tzaddik that's here. He does his avodah b'ofen yashar in the world. That's the mile of the tzaddik. But on the other hand, though, the maskana, the halacha is that b'makom shebal tshuva oimdim tzaddikim gemurim en yechaylim lamed. V'amar Rab Chiya bar Abba, Amar Rab Yochanan, kol hanaviyim kol leinis nabo ella l'meisi bitul l'tam chacham. All the nevuos that it says about l'asad lavai is for those that marry off their daughters to a talmid chacham, or olaisa pragmatia l'talmid chacham, someone that does business with a talmid chacham. Because this is how if you connect to a Talmid Chacham, so then you're connected to Torah. Or the Mahana Talmid Chacham in a Chasav, one that gives from his possessions for a Talmid Chacham. Aval Talmid Chachamim Atzmam, but the Talmid Chachamim themselves, Ayin Leirasa Lekim Zulasecha. For this, no eye can see and knows what this nevuah is. It's just Eibush himself. My Ayin Leirasa. So what is this that it says Ayin Leirasa? This refers to the yayin meshumar, the wine that's saved from sheishis yemei bereishis. So it says in the, I think the Maral says this, and it says also, we know what it says in Chassidus regarding yayin. Yayin refers to the seidus atayra, primiyus atayra. That's the ayin leiras alakim zulasecha that's on the higher level. Rish Lakish says ze Eden. The ayin leirasa refers to the level of Eden, not Gan Eden, but Eden. But as Gemara explains here now, leirasa ayin mayolam, that no eye has seen this forever. Vim taimar Adam heichendar began. Adam was in Gan Eden. Vim taimar Gan hu Eden, and you would think that the garden that Adam Rishon was created in is Gan Eden. Same thing. Talmud Laimar. So no, the pasuk clarifies and says no, that there was of a nahar yaitze mi Eden lashkis tzagan. The river flows out from Eden into the Gan, and therefore Eden is on a higher level. It's the Eden means also Lashon Tainug. That's what it says in Chassidus. It's the Tainug of the Eibishter, which is B'pnimius, a Tainug that's not connected and related to anything outside. That's Leirasa. It's not shaykh to any level of Seder Shtalshalas. Okay, finally, after all of this, the Gemara now comes back to what it said in the Mishnah, in the beginning of the Perek. In the Mishnah it said, regarding those that do not have a Chelik Leilam Abba, and it said, one that says that there's no Torah min hashamayim, and it listed additional things, that they do not have a portion in Olam Haba. Okay, I explained already when we learned the Mishnah, that it says in the Mishnah that they don't have a chelik Olam Haba, but the Rebbe explains that even those will also have a chelik in Olam Haba in a different way. So Tani Rabbanon, in a Brayse we learned about this, the pasuk says, Kidvar Hashem Baza, one that disgraces the word of Hashem, u'mitzvasei heifar, and he desecrates the mitzvah of the Eibishter, karis to karis. So the einish is karis. What does this refer to? So there's different pshatim. One pshat is ein Torah min hashamayim. Like the Mishnah said, someone that says that there's no Torah min hashamayim. Someone that says that Moshe Rabbeinu just wrote the Torah on his own. Dover acher, another pshat, kidvar avaya baza, ze apikaitis. This refers to an apikaitis. Now what exactly the definition of an apikaitis is, the Gemara will explain. Dover acher, another pshat, kidvar avaya baza means ze amagala panim b'Torah, which the Gemara will also explain what this means on Amud Beis. Ves mitzvasei heifer. Who is this referring to? Ze'amefe bris. One that does not have a bris. Ze'amefe bris. Second, where am I over here? Yeah, bris basa. Goes together. Sorry. Ze'amefe bris basa. One that doesn't have the bris in his flesh. He kares tikares. The double expression the pasuk says. He kares means bailam haza, that he gets cut off in this world, and tikares, the second lashon, is lailam haba, even in lailam haba as well. Mikan Omar Rabbi Elazar Midoi. From here, Rabbi Elazar Midoi said and learned out that there's additional things as well. A machal es hakochim. One that's machal kochim. He mistreats things that are kochim, karbonis. And one that disgraces Yom Tiv. Rashi says that this refers not to Yom Tiv, but it refers to Chalamayid. According to Rashi, Chalamayid, the Isser of those malachas that are not allowed to be done on Chalamayid is Minatayra. There's a machlokes Rishonim about this, but Rashi holds it's Minatayra. One that does not have the bris of Avram Avinu. One that's megala panim in Torah, not according to halacha. And one that embarrasses his friend in public. Malbin, his face turns white and he gets embarrassed. Even if he does have Torah and Maisim Tovim, he does not have a portion in the world to come. So most of these that the Rabbi Elazar Midai is mentioning, and this is in the Mishnah and Perkei Avos as well, and they're learned out from this concept of Dvar Havaya Baza, that he's embarrassing the Eibishter, but some of them, not all of them, are learned out over here from that lashon of the pasuk. For example, Amal b'pnei chaveri berabim is not learned from that pasuk. It's not connected to Dvar Havaya Baza. It's a separate thing that Chazal say that ein lechelik le'olam haba. Tanya another brayso we learned Kidvar Havaya Baza. What does this mean? Ze'aimet ein Torah min hashamayim, like the pshat we said before, and then Vafila that includes even Amar Kol HaTorah Kula min hashamayim. The whole Torah is min hashamayim. Chutz mi pasuk zeh, besides one pasuk. That's also included. This pasuk the Eibishter did not say. Moshe said it alone. That's included in disgracing Hashem's word. And even furthermore, if he says, he says it's all min hashamayim. Besides this diktuk, you have the diktuk of the way the words are written. Chseidus v'Yiseidus, Rashi says the letters in the Torah, or he says a Kal V'chaimer or Gzeir Shaveh, that he says that it's not min hashamayim, that's also Dvar Havaya Baza. Tanya Rab Meir said, Ha'omer that is Torah ve'en malamda, person that learns Torah but he doesn't teach Torah. Zeu Dvar Havaya Baza. That means that's the one that's disgracing Torah. Rav Nassan Komish Ein Mashgiach ala Mishnah. One that learns, but he says that the Mishnayos, the actual halachas itself is not ikr. You learn Gemara and all of the Shakal V'Tari and everything, but you have to, the Mishnah refers to just the halacha l'maisa, says it's not ikr. Rab Nerai says, Kol she'ef shelo lasik b'Torah ve'ein osek. One that has the ability to learn Torah and he doesn't learn Torah. This is the pshat that Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, Perek Aleph. Rabbi Shmuel says, one that serves Avodah Zarah. That's the Dvar Havaya Baza. Mashma. How do you see the Dvar Havaya refers specifically to Avodah Zarah? The Tanya Rabbi Shmuel, Dvar Havaya Baza zeh hamavazeh dibur, the words that the Eibishter spoke himself, and Shonam le Moshe b'Sinai, by Moshe b'Sinai, because it says Anochi Havaya lekach la'yilcha lekim achayim v'goymer, and it's the first two dibros that the Eibishter said himself. Mipi Gvura Shamayim, as Rashi here brings, but the other dibros Moshe Rabbeinu said. So therefore, Dvar Havaya refers to the first two dibros that the Eibishter said. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, one that learns Torah ve'eina chayzer aleh and does not review the Torah that he learns, daime la'adam shezireh ve'eina kaitzer. It's compared to a person that plants, but then he doesn't reap because he doesn't review the Torah, so he could forget. Rabbi Shua says, one that learns Torah and then he forgets it, daime li'ishashi aledis v'kayveres, is compared to a woman that gives birth and then buries her children. Rabbi Kiva says, Zamer b'chol yaim, you should sing the words of Torah every day, meaning that you should review it. And then Zamer b'chol yaim, and then Lasad Lava, you will also be able to sing the words of Torah. You'll be zeicha then to sing words of Torah Lasad Lava. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said, "My kra." What's the source of this in the pasuk? Shenema, the pasuk says, "Nefesh amal," the soul that toils in learning Torah, amlaloi. Then the Torah will toil on his behalf. Lasad Lavi, that'll have the Torah Lasad Lavi to be able to learn. And this is ki achaf alav pihu. The Torah for him in his mouth is like a saddle that's on the horse. So the same thing. The Torah is always on his mouth constantly, and therefore he's always singing the words of Torah. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Kol Adam La'amal Nivra. A person is created to toil, to work hard. Shenema, because the pasuk says, Ki Adam La'amal Yulad. A human being is created to toil. Now, any ideya, it's not clear what kind of a work are we talking about. Im La'amal Pen Nivra. Is he created to work with the words of his mouth? Im La'amal Malacha Nivra. Or maybe it means work. Pashut Kipshut for a person to work physically. Here in this pasuk it says nefesh amal. Then it says like a saddle in the mouth. That a person is created to work with the words of his mouth. But it's still not clear. When it says here that it's the work of the mouth, does it mean by saying words of Torah, or does it mean amal sicha, by speaking words? But the pasuk says that the words of Torah should not ever be removed from your mouth. A person is created for toiling and learning Torah. This is what Rava said. Kulu gufi druftaki. All bodies are created to work hard. Druftaki means to work, but tuve ledezachi dahava druftaki deiraisa. The best of the work is those that are zeiche, that their work will be to toil and learning Torah. That's so fortunate is the one that from whatever work the Eibusha gives him his lot that he can work in learning Torah. So this Gemara here, the Rebbe once spoke about Barichas Gedela and a Yud Aleph Nisan Fabrengen Tov Shelamed Beis. It's also in Lekutei Sichos Chelik Tezvav. What is the Gemara discussing here regarding a person? First of all, why is that person created to toil? Why doesn't the Eibusha make life easy? And besides that, the Gemara is discussing whether it is Torah or not Torah. Obviously, it's Torah. Why does the Gemara think that maybe it's for malacha, for work, or for sicha, for saying words? So the Rebbe there explains that the Eibusha creates a person to work because he wants us to be a shutuf in HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'maaseh bereishis. It's the way of Hashem elevating us to be a partner in creation. And then the Rebbe brings over there, based on a sicha from the Friediger Rebbe, or a maimer from the Friediger Rebbe, that amal malacha refers to a person that's doing his work b'emunah, honestly, in the world. And that's because the purpose of creation is to bring the Eibusha into the world. A yid that does his work, his business, b'emunah, honestly, that's bringing the Eibusha into the world. That's one level. But then there's a level higher, which is sicha. Sicha doesn't stop mean saying words. It means davening. Ein sicha el tefillah. Like it says, Vayetzi Yitzchak l'suach basada, and that's like a sulam mutzav artzav v'reishim megiya shamayim. But the point of bringing the Eibusha into the world is not just in the malacha of the world. You bring the Eibusha when you serve the Hashem, or you work b'emunah, but that's all still in Welt. Davening is going higher than Welt. And then there's even more Torah. Torah is kadma la'olam. Torah is the ultimate purpose. When a person learns Torah, you connect to the Eibusha that's completely higher than Welt, and then you bring it into the sicha, into the malacha. It goes all together. What it says before in the Gemara remains. From Torah, then you bring it into the sicha, into the malacha, to bring the Eibusha into the world. And that's the partnership that a person has, that the Eibusha wants us to be completely one with him as a partner. Gemara brings another pasuk in connection to what was said before. Noyev isha chasar leiv, one that has a relation with a woman that is not his wife, he has no heart. Amireish Lakish, what does this refer to? Person that learns Torah, but he does not learn Torah consistently. He learns one time here, one time there. Shanav, the pasuk says, how are you supposed to learn Torah? Ki noim. Torah is pleasant. Ki sishmerem bevitnecha, that you keep Torah in yourself inside. Yikainu yachtav as vasecha, when the person always learns Torah consistently on his tongue. So this is connected to what we said before, and this is the taich of noyef isha chasar leiv, just like a person that has a relation with a woman, one time this woman, one time another, and he's not living with a woman, with a wife. So then in such a case, it's like a person that's learning Torah leprokim, that he doesn't have Torah. Tanir Rabbanon, a brayse we learned v'nefesh ashetase biyad roma, the soul that will do something with the outstretched arm against Hashem. Who is this referring to? Zeh Menashe ben Chizkiah. This refers to Menashe ben Chizkiah, which was a king, that he darshened Agadata, and he darshened it in a way, again, he read Psukim of Torah and spoke out against the Eibusha. The Gemara here is bringing this to explain what it said before in Amar Aleph in the Braise, Megala Panim B'Torah. This is the Megala Panim B'Torah. And what did he say? He said, in the parsha where it speaks about the alufim of Esav, and then it says that the sister of Loitan is Timna, and that Timna was a Pelegesh to Alifaz, which was from Esav. Why is the Torah saying these details? And another pasuk he asked, Vayelech Reuven b'mei k'tzir chitim, vayimtza dudam basada. He went out, b'mei k'tzir chitim, and he finds a dudam. Why is it saying this? Specifically, the diak over here is, why does it say that it was b'mei k'tzir chitim? So Yatza Baska v'amra loy, a Baska came out and said to Menashe, Teishev ba'achicha, you sit, and ba'achicha tedaber, you speak against your brother. In other words, against Moshe Rabbeinu. And beven imcha, a son from the same mother of that, like your mother, because Menashe was from Shevet Yehuda and he's from Levi, so they have the same mother, Leah. Titan Doifi, Eila, Sisa, you say these negative things, these bad things about Torah, you do this, ve'achrashti, and Hashem says, now be quiet. The Misa, Hayais, Eye, Kamecha, Oichichacha, ve'ercha le'enecha. So the Eibusha says, if I'll be quiet, so then it will seem like that I agree to you. So therefore the Eibusha says, I will punish you for saying all of this. And all of Mefurish b'Kabbalah, regarding him, it says in Kabbalah, in the Psukim in the Navi, Hoi Moishchei Avain, woe to those that draw from an Aveda, B'chavlei Hashav, with a rope that's false. And then it says, Uka'avois ha'agol chota, that they sin with the thick ropes of a wagon, meaning that you say something, it seems like it's something small against the Torah, but this is really a very big Aveda. Now the Gemara Darshan is my ka'avois ha'agala. What does it mean, like a thick rope of a wagon that draws a wagon? Om Rabasi Yetzahare betchila doim l'chutshal kovya. The Yetzahare, in the beginning, he looks to be similar like a small little chutshal kovya, which means a spider web. That's how thin the Aveda is. But in the end, doim la'avois ha'agala. it then takes the person and it becomes a Veda that connects the person like a thick rope from a wagon. But now the Gemara goes back to the psukim that Menashe spoke about and it explains why the Torah says this. The Asan Alon Miyas, since we mentioned this, so let's explain. Achais Leitan Timna Mahi. Why does the Torah say the psukim of Achais Leitan Timna and the Timna is a Pelegesh? Says the Gemara, Timna Bas Malacham Avoi. Timna was a daughter of kings. Dichsiv Aluf Leitan, Aluf Timna. Someone not going to say Aluf Timna because that says later on. Now, V'chol Aluf, when it says here Aluf, Malchusa Beloi Tagihi. This is not mamish a king, it's a king without a crown because it refers to the great ministers that came from the descendants of Esav. And Timna, which was she was also from these kings. So now, what happened was she wanted to become a Geyidis, and therefore, it's Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. She came to Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov, v'lei kiblua. They did not accept her as a ger. So then, Holcha v'Isa Pilegesh la'alifas ben Esav. She at least said, I want to have a connection to this family. So she went to be a Pilegesh for Alifas ben Esav. Amra, she said, better for me to be a maidservant for these people, for this nation. I'm not going to be a Gvira, a princess from another nation. But then what ended up happening is, Nafak mina Amalek. From her came Amalek, the Tzarin of Yisrael that caused a lot of pain for Yidden. My time when she wanted to convert, they shouldn't have been merachik, and then Amalek would have not come out from her. That's why the pasuk is saying the story about Timna Isa Pelegesh to say that in this case she was a sincere ger, and a sincere ger you have to accept. Why is the pasuk saying this? And as I mentioned, the question is, why does it mention b'meik tzichitim? So the answer is again, tzaddikim do not take anything from what doesn't belong to them, because it says vayimtzu dudam basodeh. So what's the ayah for this? Because it says b'meik tzichitim. B'meik tzichitim means after everybody finished reaping and cutting from whatever they wanted for themselves, and then people allow everyone else to come in. Only then did Reuven go and take the dudaim. Now when it says vayimtzu dudam basodeh, my dudaim, what are these dudaim? Rav Yavruchi. Rav says it's Yavruchi. Whatever it is. Rashi says he doesn't know what it is. Levi Yomar Sigli. Rav Yonasan Omar Siviski. Okay, these are kinds of grasses, kinds of herbs. Plants, herbs. Amar Rav Alexandri said, Kala Isig b'Teira l'shma. One that learns Teira just for the sake of the Teira itself. Meisum Shalom b'Pamal Yishamayla b'Pamal Yishamata. He brings peace above in the Ruchniziga worlds, by the Malachim, and here below in this world as well. Shanev, the pasuk says, "Oyachzik b'mauzi," one that holds on to my strength, which is Teira. Yasa shalom li, shalom yasali. It says twice the term shalom, which is Pamal Yishal Maila and Pamal Yishal Mata. Rav says, Ki'ilu bana palter in Shalmaila v'Shalmata. It's like he built a palace for Hashem above and below. Shanav, the pasuk says, V'azim dvarai b'ficha. I placed my words in your mouth, which is Teira. Ubetzel yadek yisisicha. And with the shade of my hands, I cover you. L'ntoya shemayim v'lisa daretz. When you have the words of Teira, the Avish's words in your mouth, so you plant heaven and earth as well. Rav Yechanan says, Av Megan al kol olam kulei. One that learns Teira is protecting the whole world. Shanemo betzel yadai kisisicha. With my hands, I will protect you. V'levi yomar af mekarav esagula. You bring the gula closer. Shanemo, the pasuk says, V'leimer litziyain amiyata. And it will say to my people, this is Tziyah, Yidden will be redeemed then. Amarei Shlakish says, Kol ha'malabed es ben chaveret Teira. One that teaches another Yid Teira, a ben chaveret, teaches him Teira. Ma'il olav akasav ki'ilu asoi. The Torah considers it as if you
made that son.
And as if you created him, as if you gave birth to him. Shanav, the pasuk says, "V'asan nefesh asher asu b'charan." That by Avram Avinu, when he taught people about the Eibishter, it says asu, like he made those people. Rabbi Elazar says, "Kilo asan l'divrei Torah." It's as if he made the words of Torah. Shanema, the pasuk says, "The shmartem es divrei abris hazois v'asisem oisam," that you do it, that you create the words of Torah. Rava says, "Ki'ilu asay la'atzmai." It's like you become completely new again, like you created yourself. When you learn Torah, then the person becomes completely like a new person. Shanema, the pasuk says, "V'asisem oisam al tekri oisam ela atem." That when a yid learns Torah, he himself it becomes like a completely new person. Amar Rabavo said, "Kol ha'ma'aseh es chaveru lidvar mitzvah." If you convince another yid to do a mitzvah, and the Torah considers it as if you did that mitzvah. Shanam, the pasuk says, the Eibusha tells Moshe Rabbeinu, "Umatcha asher kisa b'yisayir." Take that staff that you hit the nilus with it by the makis, and then you should use that to go and the rack to take out the water with it. But now the question is, David is saying the one that you used to hit the rack or to hit the Nilus with it, Aaron was the one that hit the river with the Nilus. It means when you convince your friend to do a mitzvah, it's as if you did it, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that convinced and told Aaron to go and to kaches matcha and tei yotcha. Now going back to what the Gemara mentioned before, apikaitis, that apikaitis also has no chelik le'olam haba. So who's an apikaitis? Rav and Rab Chanina Amri Tarvayu. So Rav and Rab Chanina both said, Ze amavaze Talmud Chacham. One that embarrasses a Talmud Chacham, that's the apikaitis. The word apikaitis comes from the Lashon afikerusa, which means someone that's lawless and hefker. That's the apikaitis. So one that's embarrassing the Talmud Chacham, that's the apikaitis. Rabbi Yechon Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Amri, Ze amavaze chaveiroi b'fnei Talmud Chacham. It refers to someone that not that he embarrassed the Talmud Chacham himself. He embarrasses his friend in front of a Talmud Chacham. That's also disgraceful to the Talmud Chacham, doing this in front of a Talmud Chacham. That's the apikaitis kind of behavior. So now the Gemara explains. So we had before, the Braisa said first, Megala Panim B'Teira Shalei Ka'alocha, or it says, Megala Panim B'Teira, and then it said apikaitis. Now the Gemara asks, so the one that embarrasses his friend in front of a Talmud Chacham, he didn't embarrass the Talmud Chacham himself. So he's the apikaitis, he's acting very wild in front of the Talmud Chacham. So then, mevaza Talmud Chacham atzmai, when he embarrasses the Talmud Chacham himself, the one that actually learns Torah, the Talmud Chacham himself, that's megala panim b'Torah shalei ka'halacha. That's in the category of one that's megala panim b'Torah shalei ka'halacha, because he's just like one that misinterprets Torah or speaks against Torah. He's embarrassing the Talmud Chacham himself. That's going against Torah itself. But if you say that if one that embarrasses the Talmud Chacham, that's the apikaitis, so megala panim b'Torah kagay mai. So what is considered to be megala panim b'Torah? If the apikaitis is already mamish embarrassing the Talmud Chacham himself, so what is the megala panim b'Torah? Says the Gemara, going back to what we said before, kagay Menashe ben Chizkiah, like Menashe ben Chizkiah that speaks against the psukim in Torah. Now, there are those that learned this whole discussion regarding what it says in the Sefer of the Braise, that they were discussing Megala Panim B'Torah. Who is the Megala Panim B'Torah? And Rav Chanina Amri, Ze Amavaza Talmud Chacham. Megala Panim B'Torah means embarrassing the Talmud Chacham that learns Torah. And Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Amri, Ze Amavaza Es Chaveiroi B'fnei Talmud Chacham. It refers to someone that embarrasses his friend in front of the Talmud Chacham. And on this was the discussion. That's the Megala Panim B'Torah. He's embarrassing the Talmud Chacham himself, so that's embarrassing Torah itself. So if one only embarrasses his friend in front of the Talmud Chacham, apikaitis hava. So then he's an apikaitis. But is so that one that embarrasses his friend in front of the Talmud Chacham, that's the one that's being Megala Panim B'Torah. That's even though he didn't embarrass the Talmud Chacham himself, but that's already considered to be Megala Panim B'Torah when he does such behavior in front of a Talmud Chacham. So Megala Panim B'Torah hava. That's a Talmud Chacham. That's a Megala Panim B'Torah. So apikaitis kagain man. So who's the apikaitis? Rav Yosef. So here the Gemara brings a few different shatim who the apikaitis is according to this opinion. Rav Yosef says kagain hani the amri, like those people that say ma yahani la rabbanon. What's the benefit of the Talmidei Chachamim that learn Torah? They have no benefit for anybody. Lididhu karu, lididhu tanu. They read psukim and Torah for their own sake. They learn Torah for themselves, but nobody else benefits from them. When one says such a thing, he's an apikaitis. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye says on this pshat of Rav Yosef, now that can't be an apikaitis. Hi, megala panim b'Torah namihu. He's still a megala panim b'Torah. He's speaking against Torah itself, because the chsiv, the pasuk says, "Im loy berisi yomim v'layla." That if not for the bris of Torah, if one does not learn Torah, then there's no chukah shmayim vadas, and there's no heaven and earth. So you see here clearly in a pasuk in Torah that if not for the Talmidei Chachamim that learn Torah, the world wouldn't exist. So someone that says that Talmidei Chachamim will learn for their own benefit, he's being megala panim b'Torah. He doesn't believe in a pasuk in Torah. We also can, we hear from, there's another pasuk that says the same point as well, that the tzaddikim bring benefit to the entire world. Shanem, the pasuk says, by the story with Tzadayim and Avraham Davids, that Hashem says, I'll forgive for the whole city because of the tzaddikim in the city. Ella, so therefore, who's an apikaitis? Kagoin the Yosef Kamei Rabbe. He sits in front of his teacher, that is, and he remembers something that his Rebbe taught him from a different time in a different place, and va'amar, and he comes and says, Hachi Amrinan Hasam, this is what we learned there, this is what we learned in a different place, v'layamar, and he doesn't give the proper honor to his Rebbe, he says, Hachi Amamar, this is what the master taught me at a different time. That's a person that's called an apikaitis, because he's not giving his Rebbe the proper honor. That's the pshat of
But he uses a pronoun, he just says, the rabbi said.
yeah, then that's okay. But over here, he didn't attribute what he learned in another place to his Rebbe at all. Okay, there's a different additional psatim we'll see over here. The Gemara explains what an apokaitis is.